Can you afford a startup dental practice? I am so thrilled to be talking with my good friend, Nacho sponsor, Stephen Trutter, president of Ideal Practices. They make dentisting dreams come true. And Stephen is going to share with us, answer the question, and give us some tips. Can you afford a startup dental practice? Stephen, just take a minute and orient yourself to the Nacho audience. You got a great background there. It's a real one too. It's where are you?
I'm in Miami today. You always ask, like, what do I get to do on a daily basis? One of the things I get to do is visit a client today. And so today I'm on site to visit one of our clients who's opening her doors probably in the next 6 months. So going to see her site visit. And my site visit today, this is not a background. This is real. I get to be in Miami today. So
we are jealous up here in Philly with the weather and stuff. So, you got a great job roaming around the country, making dentisting dreams come true, starting up dental practices. You've shared so much value with the Nacho community in the past, but I do say, money's pretty important in life. We should talk about it more from high school to dental school, but we do not have awareness as a community of how do you figure out if you can afford a startup. Excited to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, thanks for being a part, let me be a part of the Nacho community and share my experience of my team's experience of guiding myself over 850 startups myself to be able to give your community and give young associates the confidence of approaching lenders at this stage of like, okay, how do I do it? How can I prepare myself? That way you're not like going before banks, like on your knees going, please banks, give me a loan. No, let's have a plan.
You got to use the Kristen Wiig bridesmaid when she sneaks up to first class and says, help me, I'm poor, so.
Help me, I'm poor. Yeah. My oldest daughter loves that spot, loves that part of the whole movie. So absolutely.
So you got a three-part plan.
Three-part plan for affording a startup. And number one is, not even number one. I'll say kind of like the prefix, the intro is, it's not about affordability. It's not about just affording a startup. I think a lot of people say, if a bank says yes, that means, is this a great idea to do a startup? No, it's not. Yes, banks will say yes, but it's about having a plan to do that. So today I want to be able to give 3 big tips and 3 big things to be able to help prepare associate dentists to approach banks so that they get the best lending so that they can be properly funded. So number one is have a plan and have the right bank. And what I mean by that is make sure you're aligned with a bank that understands startup dental practices. Cool. Not all banks do. And a lot of bankers are trained to say the word yes, and then they go yes, and then maybe, and then the committee, and months later, and then you end up with either no approval or a really, really bad approval that won't fit that won't fit your startup. Having a plan means having a business plan. Yes, you're building a business, have a plan. So kind of here, I want to say, here are the 5 things you need to make sure that you have in your business plan. Number 1, your executive summary. Tell them who you are, what you've accomplished, brag about yourself. Number 2 is demographics. What is the opportunity? Banks want to know, what is the opportunity for your practice? Number 3 is what is your marketing strategy? How do you get patients through the door? Make sure you can tell them how you're going to do it. Not just, I'm going to have a website and hope. No, what is that plan of driving?
I would just like to interject, Stephen, and this is something that, I should have done a better job earlier in my dental career. Marketing is such a key part of succeeding in any business. Many times people put their business together, get the stuff, they're ready to go, and where do they have any customers? Do they have any patients? So I think it's just important to highlight that, and I know you guys do that, get your marketing set ahead of time so that you're ready 100%. To have patients come in the door. So if I could ask as someone in an authentic way, how you talk about the right bank, and we don't have to go through specific names at this time, but just in general, what are the qualifications or what are criteria for the right bank for dental startups?
Number 1 is they've done more than 100 of them. Right. In other words, don't be the guinea pig for a bank who says we're just getting into the startup market and we're not quite sure how to do it. And I'll say, I don't want to beat up on the local bank or the banker that might be your friend that says, hey, we're local in the community, because if they've never done a startup, they're not going to understand. And if you have to explain to them what an operatory is and how much it costs, walk out of the bank at that point. So they need to have experience, and they need to have a program that is designed for a startup. Acquisition financing, much different. Startup financing requires the right tools and the right repayment structure and length of term that gives you the ability of cash flow. Got to have cash flow injected into a startup.
And I want to just interject, whether you're a dentist referring out root canals, whether, if someone goes to Jamie and Steve and says, hey, can you help me sell my practice? You might say, I know about it, but why don't you talk to the nacho guy? Why don't you talk to someone who does that every day? So same thing with banks, working with people who do that thing every single day for the people doing that thing. It's so valuable, not just inside the dental world, inside of your life, right? Because we have this
100%.
specialized world. And when you're making these huge decisions of starting up a dental practice, it's your once decision. So do not mess up on your once decision because someone down the street says they can do it. So really great value there. So let's go through those again one more time. Someone just jumped in right now and said, what are the 3 things for funding for a dental startup practice? Run those through for us.
Number one, have a plan and have a right bank. So build a business plan, tell the story, make sure you have a plan to be able to present for the banks. Number 2 is ensure that your student loans, everyone's going to be this. Don't put yourself in the right financial position. In other words, don't refinance if you are this is hard hitting here. Write this down, everybody. If you are in IBR payments or any type of repay and you have the lowest possible payment, stay there.
I love that.
It must be in alignment with your future plans. Do not refinance at the lowest possible payment because banks want to see what your payment is, not what you owe totally. So in other words,
let me say that again because it's worth saying and adding in, if you do not refinance because you feel like, oh, I want to pay it all off and have a bigger payment because that's going to jeopardize financing and affect financing in a negative way. So stay on that IBR. I like that. Gotcha.
Yep. So banks would much rather you have debt and cash than none of each.
Yeah.
So put yourself in that position. So make sure your repayment structure is in there. Number 3 is understand underspending will equal underproducing.
Gotcha.
If you try, no successful business owner, you've had successful businesses, you have a successful business. None of us have ever built a successful business said, I saved my way to success.
Right.
If you want to have the cheapest startup in town, you're going to be the cheapest dentist in town.
Yeah.
It's not about overspending, but it's about making sure that you don't try to underspend where you find your way in a too small of a space.
Right.
You don't have affordability for your marketing plan. So underspending can equal underproducing. If you try to save your way to prosperity, it won't happen when it comes to funding. So
one of your raving fans just last night on the Dental Nachos Facebook group said, I did a startup without Jamie and Steven. I did one with them. Get Jamie and Steven because they know things and do things. And yes, you're going to pay for their services, but you're going to be glad that they did, because this is another thing where, not only it's a cost savings, it's a sanity savings too. When you have someone guiding you, if you popped into Philadelphia with your family, Steven, I could guide you to all the good restaurants and cheesesteak places. Who cares if I charge you $25 to do that? You guys get a great value out of it. So it's so important to remember that when you have people on your side like you guys. So love what you've shared here with us, Steven. I always want to keep going because you guys have this amazing offer for us with your book. So my team's going to put in the chat. You can text IDEAL to 215-543-6454. You can get your $67 book for just $1.99. But tell us a little bit about what's inside this book.
What's going to be inside the book is we're going to unfold some of the greatest concepts, go in more depth on financing, on site selection, topics that we've covered in the past few days for the community. Yes, for the nachos community. On our website, also at idealpractices.com/nachos, you can find the book for $1.99. It sells on Amazon for $67 for your community. It is $1.99 because it's the holidays. And so we want to make sure that everyone can get a hold of that. That way you can get more depth on these particular topics, especially for funding, so that you have that plan and not just hope that you get funding.
I love that. I want to add in, that's such an awesome deal. Text IDEAL to 215-543-6454, drop down links. But I say to my team a lot of times, hear the words, say the words. But in this regard, it's read the words before you need them. Because whether you're a dental student, whether you're an associate, spend $1.99 and just read these words to familiarize yourself with the words that are going to be important. We have a 3-part series here. We can send that to you, from the demographics to the real estate. But instead of scrolling through TikTok, which I love to do, when you have a big decision in front of you, starting up a dental practice, having a child, read stuff before you need it. Because if you think you're going to do it all at once, it's hard. So Steven, I love 100%. Sharing with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we jump off?
No, what I say is before you talk to banks, understand where you're at financially, do your planning, make sure you have a plan, and make sure you can approach them so that you're put in a position of posture, not a position of like begging for that right
Yes,
loan. And then you will get that best possible financing for growth of your startup from day one. So
awesome.
Dr. Nacho, thank you so much.
Oh, you're awesome.
So
I'm still jealous.
here.
I'm glad to do this. I'm a little jealous of your background instead of the Philadelphia culture, but to connect with our awesome sponsors, Ideal Practices, reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. And Stephen, if someone just popped by this and was watching and wanted to connect with you individually, how would they do that?
Easy. You can email me at Stephen with a PH. So Stephen at howtoopenadentaloffice.com. You can check us out at idealpractices.com. And best of luck to all associates. I hope this was really beneficial to the entire community.
Really awesome, Stephen. Thanks so much for being a part of this.
Thank you.